This episode is brought to you by Hill's Pet Nutrition. Every shelter pet deserves a second chance, and you're making it possible for thousands of them every day. Because when you feed your pet Hills, you help feed a shelter pet, which helps make them healthy, happy, and more adoptable, changing their life forever. So they can change yours. Over 14 million shelter pets fed and adopted. Science did that. Visit hillspet.com/podcast to learn more.
Today on CityCast Houston, you won't believe what happened while HPD Police Chief Troy Finner was patrolling 3rd Ward. Plus, why was my beloved Galveston the punchline on national TV? And can H-Town become the next Hollywood? Producer Carlignon Jones joins me to talk about the stories you should know about to start the week. It's Tuesday, April 30th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. I can't believe it, Carly. It is the final day of April. How are you? Good morning, first of all.
I'm doing good. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I can't believe it. April has come and gone. So before we jump into some of the big news impacting everybody to start the week, what was your highlight for the month?
My highlight had to be our live taping at the Rockets game because it was our first live taping and it went so well, so smoothly. The energy in the room was great. We put a lot of hard work into making that event go so well. Shout out to Edgar from the Houston Rockets who helped us coordinate it. That had to be my highlight because it was just such a fun time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it really was. And again, the hard work that you, Brooke, and the rest of the team put in was outstanding. It was so much fun and so cool to see all of our listeners in person. That was definitely a great highlight and just a memorable moment for the podcast. So we truly appreciate everyone supporting it and showing up that day. That was so much fun. Okay, my highlight for the month was absolutely the totality, experiencing that. I know it wasn't in Houston, but it impacted everyone in Houston who went up there. Having that moment with my daughter to just see everything go pitch dark was so surreal. It was definitely a core memory for her and for me. So that was my highlight of the month. And don't forget, we do have our monthly guide publishing tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. We've got a lot of things coming up in the month of May. I can't believe it. It's May. And we have our guide to May in the city of Houston. So that will publish tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. Carly, let's get to our biggest story. What do you got?
Okay, y'all. So Texans wide receiver Tank Dell was the victim of a shooting Saturday night in Florida. Now, if you don't know who Tank Dell is, he's one of the Texans' best players from last year. In his rookie season, he had 47 catches, 709 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He was definitely a force to be reckoned with last year in the 2023 season, but he had a leg injury during a game, which I was actually at that game, and it was so terrible. Everybody in the crowd was just like, it was a moment. It was a moment because we knew that was one of our best players and he was injured. And so he had to sit out the rest of the season, including playoffs. But he was in Florida visiting his mother this weekend and went to a private event at a bar. And apparently some people started fist fighting and someone who wasn't in the fist fight apparently started shooting into the crowd and injured 10 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Luckily, it was non-life-threatening injuries for everyone that was involved and that was hit. And security also was able to tackle the person who was doing the shooting and handcuff him until police got there. So everyone is okay. Tank was in the hospital, but is expected to make a full recovery. But the crazy other part to this is that a 16-year-old was the person who was arrested in the shooting. Can you believe that?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so scary and just shows you how delicate life is and the balance that we kind of live in, right? Because those 10 people luckily did not have life-threatening injuries, as you mentioned, but it could have easily been life-threatening injuries or, God forbid, they lose their lives because of a senseless act of violence, right? Like shooting into a crowd because of a fist fight at a private event is just, it's maddening, man. It is so frustrating to hear that. And that is, by the way, classified as a mass shooting. So it's just another example. And, this time we're talking about it because it impacted a Houstonian in Tank Dell. So it's just so crazy and it's so scary sometimes, right? When you hear stories like this, and we're so lucky that there weren't more serious injuries from this.
Yeah, really, because it could have been bad, just like you said, but thankfully everybody's okay. Hopefully this doesn't stop Dale's recovery process because he was already in recovery from injuring his leg. So
Mhm.
hopefully he'll be able to still jump out there this season. And I hope everybody else that was injured during this has a full recovery as well because, man, this has to be scary. You wouldn't expect that at a private event. You're thinking, okay, I should be safe here, but no.
And yeah, Tank has already made a full recovery from that injury from the game that you were at. And wow, this season is going to be so incredible, by the way. Stephon Diggs, another wide receiver that the Texans traded for and are bringing to the team. And they've got one of the best wide receiver cores for CJ Stroud. So this season is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, can't wait for some football.
Okay, Carly, I'm going to get to my big story here, and we're heading to Third Ward, where residents have had it with crime. Yeah, I know, we're talking about more crime. So there's been a lot of crime happening in their neighborhood, so they called for a community meeting to see what can be done. Residents asked for more police presence, more cameras, and noise meters around bars and nightclubs that just keep residents awake all night long because of how loud they are. Well, over the weekend, HPD Chief Troy Finner and some police from HPD hit the streets in Third Ward after a press conference to let Third Ward residents know that, yes, we are here. We hear you, that you need more presence. And as they were walking the streets, literally an hour after they started, there was a shooting
Oh my God.
where a stranger got into somebody's car and the people were like, "What are you doing in our car? Please get out." The guy gets out, then comes back and shoots up the car for no reason. That's what happened. And they did catch a suspect. So, like, it's just one of those wild things, almost like a Only in H-Town, where the HPD chief is out there walking the streets and this happens. But throughout the night, with more HPD presence, Commander Sonny Wynn said that as of 10:30 that night, they had confiscated 3 assault rifles, 3 pistols, and made numerous traffic stops and other citations. So it just shows that with more police presence, they can make Third Ward a bit safer and really impact change in that neighborhood. So definitely want to bring this up because the residents over there have had it.
That is so crazy. But I guess it shows you right away that the police presence was needed because if they're doing this while you're out there, the police chief is out here and you're still trying to shoot up a car and all of this is insane. But hopefully, after the police seen what is really going on, they really go out there and stick with it. But I don't want it to get to the point where it's like they're harassing people that aren't doing anything because sometimes it can be over policing.
Yeah.
So I hope they just find like a balance throughout that neighborhood so that people can actually feel safe every day.
Okay, Carly, let's get through some stories here and do rapid fire. The first story is the one that so many people are talking about and continue talking about because my beloved Galveston caught some strays. So over the weekend, Charles Barkley caught himself in a riptide in the beaches of Galveston when he took a shot at Galveston for no reason. And here's what happened. So he's on the popular show Inside the NBA on TNT. It is the best sports show, in my opinion, and I think by a lot of people's opinions. It's so funny, it's so informative. But what happens is in the playoffs right now, the NBA, they're in their playoffs. There's a phrase in sports where when a team is about to be eliminated, they're going to say, hey, they're going to Cancun, right? Because their summer vacation almost starts. And they were talking about the New Orleans Pelicans, who at the time were down 3-0 in the series. The 4th game, they get eliminated if they lose that one. And Chuck said, quote, "We're not even going to send them to Cancun. We're going to send them to Galveston, where that dirty ass water be washed up on the shore." And as he's saying this, Shaquille O'Neal, who is also on the show, is just losing his mind, laughing so hard. And Chuck continues to go, "We're not going to send y'all to Cancun. Y'all quit. Drive your ass down to Galveston." It was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
He then apologizes the next day, okay? And he gives a little funny apology and then takes shots at the Riverwalk in San Antonio. He's had a history of taking shots at San Antonio. He calls that a dirty little river as well. And, says some choice words for the women there. If you want to look those up, you can Google it. but it was just so funny. And I was just like, why are we taking shots at Galveston? Come on, Charles, you don't have to do this.
Charles has always been known for that crazy mouth of his. And it's just like anything that he says, I just expect it at this point. It's hilarious. You just got to laugh it off. But I know you got hurt in the heart whenever they said something about Galveston because that's your favorite place.
That's my place. That's my place. I am on a mission to rewrite what people think about Galveston. There are days where the water is blue, okay? So stop with the hate of the water. It is a beach, okay? Get there, have fun. But yeah, I watched that and I was like, man, come on, Chuck. By the way, in the show notes, I've linked our episode about why Galveston doesn't suck. So if you want to listen to that, it's almost my love letter to the city of Galveston and that area. You can listen to it with the link in the show notes. Okay, story number 2, Carly. It always felt like a really weird fit that Southwest Airlines was flying out of Bush Airport again. They returned there in 2021, but now they are leaving Bush Airport. The announcement of cuts came after Southwest had a disappointing quarter and reported a quarterly loss of $231 million.
Ooh.
Now, it's not all because of Bush Airport. One of the big reasons for the loss was because Southwest uses only Boeing airplanes. And we all know how Boeing has had some issues of late. So that's going on as well. They are posting a loss and they're like, we got to cut some airports. And one of those was Bush Airport. Did you ever fly Southwest out of IAH?
I've flown out of IAH plenty of times on Southwest because that's my favorite airline to use. So I'm actually like so shocked that they're doing this. Like, I'm like, where am I going to go now? Now I have to figure out what other plane to fly on. Maybe I guess I'll go to United or Delta or something like that.
So Hobby is their big airport. Southwest is like, that is them. Okay. Hobby and Southwest go hand in hand. And I've never flown out of Bush Airport using Southwest because that's a United terminal, right? United owns Bush Airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every time I look at Southwest Airlines out of Bush Airport, I'm always like, there's going to be a connection. There's going to be that. Like, it just never worked out. It's just easier to go to Hobby and use Southwest. So that's still there. Like, we can still use Hobby Airport, and they're great with that. Southwest is fantastic out of Hobby. Bush never made sense to me anyways, because if I'm going to fly Southwest, I'm going to Hobby. There's just more flights out of there and it works out. But yeah, I'm glad that somebody was using Bush Airport. That was you for Southwest, because I've never met anybody.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely used it because I just was comfortable with Southwest. My thing is I love a free bag. So that's why I was doing it. So yeah, but that's sad to hear, honestly.
This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Your work can take you all over the place, like Texas. You've never been, but it's going to be great because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. Their free Bright Side breakfast will give you energy for the day ahead. And after, you can unwind using their free high-speed Wi-Fi. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book your stay today at lq.com.
By the way, did you see that there's going to be new consumer protections being put in place in October by the Department of Transportation regarding airlines? They're telling airlines that you have to give cash refunds when flights are canceled or significantly changed. And the new rules also call on airlines to quit hiding junk fees, which is one of my pet peeves, right? And what those junk fees is when you're researching a flight, you're like, oh, it's only $89. But then when you book it, you start getting Spirited Airlines, right? That's what it's called. Because then you got to pay an extra X dollars for a bag, a seat upgrade, or Wi-Fi, or little things like just like having your bags carry on. You have to pay for these random fees. Well, the DOT is saying, no more. And by the way, I want to go back to that. What is a delayed flight, right? So here's the definition from the DOT. Any significant changes to a flight, which would include departure or arrival times that are more than 3 hours domestically and 6 hours internationally, means that, yes, you qualify for a refund. It also includes departures or arrivals from a different airport, increases in connections, and connections at a different airport or flight on a different plane that are less accessible or accommodating to a person with disabilities. So we're getting some rights back as consumers. I love this.
I am excited about this. I have a lot of thoughts. Well, first of all, for consumers, for people out there that use these airlines, this is great because for so many years, we have been getting effed over when these flights get delayed, when they get canceled. It's just kind of like they act as if it's our fault when we have no control over weather or whatever it is that is stopping us from able to get on the flight. So I'm excited about getting these cash refunds for sure. Now, on the other hand, like airlines all over have been struggling so much lately with like being able to just keep the airlines going. They've been struggling with hiring people who want to like stay on, the flight attendants and everything like that. So I'm just thinking they're about to lose a lot of money with this new rule. So it's good for the consumers, but it seems like it's going to be hugely bad for all the airlines that have to do this now.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch out for. But look, if you make a mistake as a business and you have a hiring issue, that's your problem. You got to fix it. Don't put it on us, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to pay for the fact that you can't find enough people to work, right? That sucks. Like, that's not my fault.
Yeah.
Figure it out. You are a company. That is your job. And if you can't, give me my refund. That's it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. It's definitely not our fault. So I get it. But I'm just like, man, but those are big companies losing money. That's better for them to lose money than for us as small people living regular lives, regular paychecks. Like, yeah. So I agree. Okay, Raheel, I have one for you too. Another rapid fire. All right.
Okay.
So a developer named Al Kashani, who is the vice president of Horizon International, is working on a transforming plan, which will be transforming a furniture store into a 2 soundstage film and TV production area. And this is going to be on Fondren, which I'm a little skeptical about because like Fondren out of all places is a little bit wild to be trying to make a movie production place. But I'm interested in this because this is going to be a $3 to $4 million renovation that is going to put 2 sound stages into this warehouse. And construction starts within the next 6 months. And they're expecting to have it done within the next year. This place is going to be a huge transforming thing for Houston because they're really trying to get our film scene on the horizon and really working. In the article that I read from the Houston Chronicle, they had announced prematurely that 50 Cent had something to do with this. So I don't know if he actually has any involvement at all because they retracted that statement. But I do know that when 50 Cent moved down here around like 2021, I believe, or 2022, he was saying that the reason he was coming to Houston was because he wanted to turn Houston into a film and movie production spot, right? So seeing this furniture store turn into a film and TV production building, do you think that Houston has a chance of becoming the next Hollywood? What do you think?
Ooh. So it's probably not going to be the next Hollywood, but can we be the next Atlanta? Right?
Yeah.
Because Georgia has done such a good job of providing incentives for productions to start filming and working out of their state. And Atlanta has become the hub almost
Mhm.
because of how big the city is. Why can't Houston be that, right? So that would mean that we would have to provide a lot of incentives for these production companies to come down here and film and do productions, right? So the tax breaks, there's different ways you can do this, right? But yeah, why can't we be like a second tier, right? We'll never be Hollywood. It's impossible. Just there's just so much that happens in LA that not many people are going to move away from that. But if you can be one of those second tier cities, yeah, we can definitely do it. And it starts with building sound stages and production places like this one in Fondren because there's a lot of room there. The warehouse is already there. You just have to convert it and make it one of the places where you can do everything that these production teams need. So yeah, it starts with something small like this, hopefully some incentives, and yeah, we can make a push for it. Why not?
What I've always wondered is why Houston already wasn't on that scene of TV production because there's been so many reality TV shows that they tried to start here that didn't work out. Like they wanted to do a Real Housewives of Houston, and for some reason that never actually left the ground, which is kind of crazy to me because I think it would be so interesting. I know that we have the people that have the personalities that would do great on a reality TV show,
Yeah.
but the production just never seems to follow through whenever they come down here to try to start it. It's interesting to me.
Well, with reality show, it's more about the personalities and the production because the production is easy to do, right? You just have
Hmm.
cameras,
Hmm.
right? We've seen the House of Ho, which is a big reality show that is filmed right here in the city of Houston. So that might be more personality driven. So we have seen some success with reality shows, but when it comes to a project like this where they're turning a warehouse into a sound stage and TV production facility, that is like true movie stuff right there. And if you can get this going and kind of lay out the foundation that we can do this, then other businesses will convert as well and become huge sound stages because that's what separates LA from a lot of cities, right? Because they have so much capabilities in terms of those sound stages where you can film movies and all that good stuff. So, hey, a baby step here. I think this is going to work out.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for it because if you really look into Hollywood, there's so many people that are from Houston that are in Hollywood that have made it big. So why not bring it to the hometown so
Mhm.
people don't have to keep leaving just to be successful? So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, same here. And there's so much warehouse space in the city and surrounding areas. Like, I don't know, if you ever drive around on the outskirts of town, oh my gosh, there's just so much warehouse space that's already there
Hmm.
and being built as well. Like, just nonstop. Like, especially if you're going down I-10 West
Hmm.
past Katy, like, it is just massive warehouses that are being built and currently not being used. So, who knows? That maybe that's one step in getting that space rented out. All right, Carly, it is time for our Only in H-Town segment. Stories are so crazy that it only happens in our city. What do you got for me?
Okay, so I'm taking it back a little bit today because if you have been listening to CityCast for a while, we used to do gripes for our segments before Only in H-Town started. So today I have a gripe
Ooh.
because, yeah, I feel like Houstonians are going a little backwards nowadays and aren't as compassionate as they used to be. And the reason I'm saying this is because me and my mom were driving to go, I think, shopping or something like that the other day on Westheimer. And as we were driving, I looked to the side and I see this man on the sidewalk. He looked like he passed out. He was like kind of choking. Like it was really scary for me to see in the first place. I was just like, oh my gosh. But we were driving with the flow of traffic. So I told my mom, hey, we need to try to turn around. Let's go. We got stopped by a red light. And my mom was like, well, you see all those people back there. She's like, do you think that they're going to stop like to try to help him? Somebody will get out the car. And I'm like, no, like, I don't think they're going to stop. They're not stopping to help right now, even though they're like parked beside him. So me and my mom made the block. We got lost trying to find him. But once we got back there, he's still on the ground, still like sick, like I mean, we had to get the ambulance out there and everything like that. But he was in front of an apartment complex on top of that. Let me just say that. One of the ladies from the apartment complex comes out and she was like, yeah, I did try to call the ambulance, but nobody was answering. And she said, but I've been seeing people walk over him, like on the same sidewalk, walk over this man while he's having a whole medical emergency. So I just want to say, like, as Houstonians, it should not be okay for us to keep passing by a person that we see is in need of medical attention and not stop to help. Like it's so sad. It's like almost inhumane. Well, actually it is inhumane. And I just can't believe that like so many people passed by that man on the street without helping. So that was really heartbreaking for me. And I want us to do better. So that's my gripe for the week. Please be a better Houstonian and help the people that you see need help.
So y'all stopped, got the ambulance out there, and they took care of the man. Hopefully, man, that is so scary.
Yeah, yeah. The ambulance came and took care of him. But before that, it was just like,
People just passing him up, right?
yes, just passing him up.
I'm so glad that he received the help and he is doing better, hopefully. But yeah, that happens, right? Like that is one of those social behaviors where people in a massive setting, they just go, well, the next person will help him. And that person's like, well, no, the next person will help him. And what happens, Carly? Nobody helps anybody.
Yep.
And you just assume that somebody else will. So I'm glad that y'all stopped and helped this man out. And also, the lady who called the ambulance and said that she couldn't get in touch with an ambulance, like that is a huge issue right there.
Yeah. She said she called 3 or 4 times and nobody would get her through. I was like, what? Like,
What?
that shouldn't even be possible. Like, as soon as you call 911, they should answer the phone. So I don't know.
Well, good to hear that the man did receive help, and that's what matters in this. But yeah, let's be a little bit more compassionate, everybody. If you see somebody in trouble or somebody that's hurting, stop and see if they need help, because that's the least we could do as human beings living with one another. Come on.
Exactly.
Okay, my only in H-Town is about social media, where social media just lights up. And pardon the pun here, because this is about a fire at a business. Now you're wondering, what business? Well, it was our beloved turkey leg hut. Look, I know it's not funny when there's fires, but everyone was okay in this fire. I'll explain in a second. I don't want people emailing us like, I can't believe you made that pun. It's okay, guys. Take a deep breath. Well, here's what happened. Images and videos started circulating over the weekend that turkey leg hut was on fire. And immediately, of course, people just started going to the worst place about the fire and the motivations of it, because everything that has happened with the business, from filing for bankruptcy to the former owner starting a rival company across the street and having issues with that. Well, we fast forward, and luckily we find out that nobody was hurt in the fire, and the fire was actually in a warehouse near the actual restaurant, and there was no damage sustained to the restaurant because of how fast Houston Fire Department came and contained that small blaze in the warehouse. So everything worked out. Everything is okay. The restaurant is, in fact, open once again. So everything worked out, but only in H-Town can we just start losing our minds because the turkey leg hut was back in the news, and this time for a fire.
Man, these people are in our roundup literally every week because there's always something crazy going on. I have to say that. But when I seen this on social media, because I was scrolling on Instagram and I seen the fire and everything break out, my mind definitely went to like, okay, is somebody doing this on purpose at this point?
Yeah.
You know, because this isn't the first turkey leg hut building that has been on fire in the last few months. Their corporate office was on fire. So for that to happen and then this to happen, like I was kind of like, ugh, is someone setting these fires on purpose? That's where my brain went. Luckily, when I kept reading, I was like, okay, it didn't actually happen at the turkey leg hut. It was the warehouse instead, and it wasn't their warehouse. So I'm like, okay, maybe not, but it's just like a string of bad luck at this point. And it's kind of like, sometimes when it's a string of bad luck, it starts looking like, okay, is this bad luck or is this coincidental? But
yeah.
You know, I don't know. I'm guessing at this point that since it wasn't their actual building, it just was actually some bad luck this time. I don't know. But at this point, I'm going to go put some prayers around the turkey leg hut and the owners because
I'm telling you, it's time we just go. You know what? I was going to say, we've been talking about him so much, and what's the old saying? Any publicity is good publicity, because now I just want to go eat at turkey leg hut.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to go grab a meal, because I'm talking about them so much that I'm craving it. So yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's getting wild. Hopefully we don't have to talk about them next week. Hopefully they'll have a good, smooth week. But it has been so terrible.
We should have a counter on the podcast: days without a turkey leg hut incident.
Ooh, I think that's a good idea. Let's see how far we can get.
Carly, that was a lot of fun. Here's to a big week here on CityCast Houston.
All right, thank you. See y'all next time.
That was Carlignon Jones. All of the stories are linked in our show notes. So what was your favorite moment from April? Send it to us via DM on Instagram at CityCast Houston. That will do it for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new. And HPD